2, 1.
Peace, y'all. Hey,
What's so
so
goddamn funny?
man, life is one funny motherfucker.
It is. How are you?
I'm good. I'm good.
Yeah?
Yeah. So this is again, this is new for us, being on camera, and I want to welcome you to Kaleidoscope.
I welcome you back, brother.
Thank you.
Yeah.
And I want to welcome you out there in podcast land to the Kaleidoscope podcast. Not live, but
It's live. We ain't cut. It ain't face to face, but I think this is definitely live.
so we're getting into this series that we call holding space. That's a buzz term,
Right.
right? And there's a lot of bullshit always kind of hovering around buzz terms,
Right.
but there's also some there, and there's some magic there.
Right.
And so we wanted to talk about holding space from these different vantages. I mean, personal space, communal space,
Spiritual.
institutional space, spiritual space. And today we're honing in on communal space.
Right.
And I was thinking before we jumped into that, we should just check in real quick, you know what I mean? And see what's happening with you.
I'm good.
What you passionate about right now, brother? What you up to?
I am up to stabilizing my journey through 2023. 2022 was rough.
Man, 2022.
And it's funny, I actually thought about this the other day because we actually talked about this in the Trust Dance episode. And we talked about trusting our bodies and trusting that our bodies are going to function the way that we want it to. And
I'm laughing.
yeah, we'll talk about that later.
Yeah,
But,
okay.
but literally, as soon as we finished the episodes, me and my body began this
Right.
super duper distrust thing where it
Right.
was doing some wild shit, for lack of a
Yeah.
better term.
Yeah.
And I'm still,
Knocked you down in a way.
and it knocked me down, and I'm still smiling. I'm still praising God through the process.
Yeah.
But the irony is that the whole trust thing is like, it's a real thing.
So you said you coming into this thing right now, you on stabilizing.
I'm in stabilizing. So like all the little Happy New Year stuff that people were saying, I hope for prosperity. I hope for this and that. And one of the things that I had been telling people, I wish for them as I wish for myself, is for like stability. And not stability in my relationship, but just the stability within my body.
You're looking forward to not being in crisis.
And not being,
With your body.
With my body,
Yeah,
man.
man.
And I think it just comes with age, but it also comes with not using my own advice and following the health things that I know, exercise 40 minutes a day, staying hydrated, like simple stuff like that. I know better. Like I'm proficient.
You're supposed to know better.
I'm supposed to know better. Yeah. But
you're a public health dude in your past life.
Yeah. So.
Right. But I can relate to that so much because last year we were in crisis.
Right.
With my dad having a big accident, having health complications around that.
Yeah.
Crisis. My wife's mom, my mother-in-law, who I don't even see as a mother-in-law. I see her as a friend and a mentor.
Yeah.
She had some really serious health issues. We were literally flying back and forth to Atlanta toward the end of last year to say bye to her.
Yeah.
We thought it was deep. Like that. We thought it was going down like that. So, yeah, man, I'm looking forward to doing some stabilization too.
That's a thing.
Myself.
It's a real thing.
One of the things I'm passionate about right now, I'm passionate about being a dad. I know you're passionate about being a dad.
Hell yeah.
Your son is a college man, bona fide college man, doing well.
Straight up.
And just like out of the nest in a serious way.
I'm paying
that
for
boy
his nest.
flew the coop.
He flew the coop. I'm paying for that little African's nest and
Oh,
his coop.
mercy.
But it's
Yeah.
okay.
It's okay. It's okay.
One of the things that you're realizing, I'm glad that you're excited about this. Like, they didn't ask to be here. So we do as much as we can
Yeah.
to support these little Africans up as much as possible.
And this is a good transition because, so we're talking about holding space.
Yeah.
We're talking about holding communal space. And for me, there are all these different iterations.
There's so
of what
many
it
ways we
means
can go
to
about it, yeah.
Talk about community. A lot of times, like, we distinguish community and family. But I think that this is an iteration.
Yeah.
Like when you are building your family and you're trying to be part of shepherding your family and you're building culture and value systems and, you know, that kind of stuff. You know, that's a kind of community. And this is our contribution to the greater community that we belong to.
Right, absolutely.
And that we claim as our own. And, you know, one of the things that just, I don't know, man, I don't know how to describe it, that amazes me about you is not only are you,
Moi.
yeah, you, moi. Not only are you just fly, you know, you're just
Thank
a fly dude, man. I'm rarely I'm rarely shook.
Come on, you
when
put
I'm
a lot
moving
on
in
it.
these spaces, you know what I mean? But in terms of how you get out, your fashion, like the little magic that you put on your presentation is, you know, you're just a fly dude.
Thank you.
But it's not just that. You have an eye and an ear for community. And in particular, one of the things that I wanted to talk to you about and just get a little deeper on for the people, for me and for the people, is the Definitive Men's Collective.
Ah,
Brother.
yes.
Yes, yes.
Yes, it's Definitive Black Men's Collective, Definitive Men's Collective.
Oh, man, the Definitive Black Men's Collective. I remember this was over a decade ago.
Yeah, it was almost 13 years ago.
I remember you sending me this link for a video.
The Sartorialist.
The Sartorialist. And it was this, you know, very classy black and white depiction of fly-ass men moving in a distinguished space.
Yeah.
And their conversations were being captured, their fashion was being captured, just the gravity of their presence was being captured. And you said that you wanted to do something like that, but you wanted to do it for brothers. And I'm thinking like, first of all, you know, I want you to tell us a little bit about it, but also my question is like, what made you think that, like, it was your right to do such a thing?
Audacity.
Like, what gave you the audacity to say, not only should it be done, which we say stuff should be done all the time, but for you to say, I'm the dude. What was that about for you?
I wish I would have saw this question before you gave me an opportunity to see the questions. So the whole thing with the audacity.
By the way, y'all, I told Bing that I was not going to show him my questions in advance, and he hasn't showed me his.
No.
So we're going to do jazz today, all right?
We riffing.
Yeah.
So the audacity for me to do this is that.
Tell us a little bit about it first, please.
So every year for the past, we're about to go into year 13, I have assembled a constellation of black men.
Yeah.
And I say constellation because these black men are all throughout the state of California. Some come from out of the country. And individually, we're powerful beings. But I think as a collective, I just think we're like this awesome supernova group of brothers. And we break bread once a year.
Once a year. It's been a dinner most of the time.
It's been a dinner most of the time.
Sometimes it's a brunch.
Sometimes it's a brunch.
We usually go out after.
Yep, there's usually, and it's interesting. That's even interesting because when we would do dinner, it was cool. Like you have a dinner at 6, 8 o'clock, we go to like a burlesque show
We
or
hitting the
something.
streets.
We hitting the
The
streets.
streets.
We
The
hit a
streets.
club or a bar afterwards, and then next thing you know, it's like 3 people left.
Yeah.
And for years, it was
Usually
always
the same.
it used to be the same Negroes,
Diehards.
diehards. Cats don't want to go home. Then there's other cats that gotta go home. There's some cats that
They getting in trouble.
they're getting in trouble.
Right.
But for the most part, it's really a wholesome night where
Yeah.
brothers are able to just really connect, eat, break bread,
Be themselves.
be themselves. One of my heroes, Elijah Muhammad, had this saying, and it's accept your own and be yourself. And this is like the living personification of it. Also, I'm a graduate of Morehouse College. Every Thursday, we used to have this thing called Crown Forum. And it was all the black men from freshman year to senior year that converged into King's Chapel. And there was this discussion that took place. And so I think part of it also was for me to sort of bottle up that experience and have brothers sort of, meet and talk. And we typically have like a topic of discussion at these brunches and dinners. But it's just a powerful event. And then the magic happens after the dinner is over. All of the different relationships that come and spur out of this one thing. People, they meet other brothers that they have stuff in common with. Business is transacted after the dinner. So I don't allow people to transact business during the dinner. But
or to be selling stuff.
Or to be
and
selling
whatnot.
stuff, right.
So,
I have discontinued or disallowed people or disinvited folks that I know that are doing like, some kind of multi-level
marketing type,
bullshit
yeah.
at the dinner, or who want to use it for like multi-level marketing.
Yeah.
So, but if people want to break off and do their own thing afterwards, cool,
Yeah.
But the audacity came with me.
The audacity of you
The audacity of me
saying
doing
that
it.
I'm the guy to do
Yeah.
it.
Well, yeah. Why not? Like, I think that I have, I've been raised I have a dope father. I've had dope father figures in my life. I've seen what happens when black men come together from my experience in my spiritual walk, from my academic walk. I went to all men's college. And I think there's power in that. It's a very revolutionary act when I think black men come together and talk and discuss and to plan. And from that planning build, I've made money with some of the guys in the group. You and I, we've been friends just as long as I've been doing this thing, and we, Lord knows how many checking accounts we got.
Oh, have mercy.
Yeah, with just us in our business business ventures. So as I think it's a beautiful experience, and I'm real intentional about the spaces that we do it.
Yeah.
So I want us to be safe and but also I want us to be seen.
Well, so this leads into my next questions. This is community building. This is you holding space,
Right.
in a communal way. How does this community building affect other communities?
Well, that's a really good question. So if this actual thing that we're doing,
Yeah.
and if other brothers want to do this actual thing, I encourage them to.
There have been splinter groups.
There have been splinter groups.
We've done experimentation.
We've done experimentation. And not just a dinner, but we've did
a
a
retreat.
retreat.
We did a retreat.
With some progressive brothers. You brought
Yeah.
your 3, I brought my 3, and we met and we talked about.
Go.
We just kind of talked about, we had some goals in mind. We actually have we did a manifesto.
Man.
Which I think was a really good exercise. But if you look at that manifesto, it's so interesting. If you go back and look at that manifesto and you look at all the stuff that was happening during like Black Lives Matter, all the different things that came out of that, people recommitting themselves to education, recommitting themselves to learning about their own Black history, recommitting themselves to like, a financial base, recommitting themselves to like creativity and doing like creative stuff. we had been talking about this in 2015,
Right.
2014. So it's been a really good ride. So the one of the things that I'm I'm really hyper aware of is like burnout. And so a lot of the groups, I think what happened, they wanted to improve on the model that I've created, which is great. Um, but what I did not want is for, especially a lot of us are getting older. So like when I started this thing in my mid 30s. I'm now in my late 40s. Guys who were in their 40s, they're about to hit 60 that are part of the group. We ain't got a bunch of time. We got family, we got business, we got all sorts of stuff going on. I didn't want it to be. I didn't want the dinner or the lunch or the brunch to be a burden.
Be burdensome.
To be burdensome. So my thing is once a year.
Yeah.
We communicate with everyone. I communicate with all the guys throughout the year. I see you at least once every 2 weeks. We used to see each other every week.
We used to meet every week.
We used to meet every week. I connect with everybody so these people are legitimately people that I love, people that are my friends. But I think a once a year thing is cool.
So we're talking about, again, we're talking about holding space. We're talking about holding communal space. And this gets to the next question that I have, because you talked about not wanting it to be a burden, because we all got stuff that is vying for our time and our energy and our resources. What are some of the, and I've been with you since day one.
Yeah.
And I've seen you kind of bask in the glory of the reward of this thing. I've also seen you in the trenches
Trying to get it together.
trying to get it together and being on the verge of saying, and fuck this
Fuck it,
shit.
yeah,
You know what I
yeah.
mean? Like,
Damn.
you know what I mean? And so like, let's just, get into the challenges.
Yeah.
What are some of the, not wanting it to be a burden on other people, what kind of burdens have you taken on in this community building exercise?
Negroes still owe me money for tabs.
Ooh. Ooh.
So
It's a financial
it's a financial burden.
piece here.
Yep, it's a financial piece here. There's also corralling cats.
Yeah.
So making sure that cats are on point with that. We got a visitor. She's actually not a visitor. This is her place. we'll edit this. We can edit this out, right? Yeah. Can you make it through?
Yeah, yeah.
Just push it over.
Uh-huh.
Yeah. There you go, Pomona Queen. Claremont Queen. What's up, Claremont Queen?
You
What are the burdens?
talked about
Yeah.
not wanting it to be a burden on the participants.
Yeah.
But in not having it be a burden to them, you've taken on some burdens.
Burdens, yeah.
Yeah.
Well, also so this is
You spoke to the financial.
the financial part of it.
Part of it.
What is not a burden, but something that costs is that every year the men are greeted with something very personal. So you either get a personalized nameplate. One time I gave everybody like Wu-Tang names. That was one of my favorites. And then there's also there's a gift that I have typically have given every year. I've kind of slowed down on the gifts, but I want the men that attend this thing to feel a sense of appreciation when they come there. I want them to feel a sense of belonging, and I want us to get into the habit of normalizing the celebration of ourselves just on GP, just because.
Now, so are you special?
Hell
Like-
yeah.
Are you special in that you have this is just a thing that you have a knack for this, and you kind of got it or you don't? or is this something that can be developed? Is this community building capacity something that can be that more people can and should do?
Yeah, I think that everyone has the capacity to do something like this. It's just a matter, I think, of will. And so I think I I am I'm special in the sense that what ends up happening, people talk a lot and they say a lot, but people don't move on
They
stuff.
don't pull the trigger.
They don't pull the trigger, and I think that's a very defining thing when it comes to holding space. Is that holding space is not just you occupy the space of being in the community, but how are you activating that space and how are you moving that space forward? It's funny, as I was sort of building this thing with the men's collective, I was watching you and what you were doing with your group in the village. You guys, you moved to a community, or you had been established in this community in Fontana, Rancho Cucamonga area, and you created a space along with other parents. I was taking cues from you, just how you were taking cues from me. I want to know more about that experience with you, and how are you moving? How did you move this community forward, and where's that community at now? So what is the thing that I'm talking about? Like, this is called the village, and you guys established yourselves because of what?
So that's a good question. Why? So the I think and it wasn't something that I did. It was something that I did with my wife, and she was just as much of a doer as I was. And there were at least a handful of other people too that just represented the core cornerstone group within the group. And I think, just speaking for me and my wife, speaking for me and Tam, we did it because we didn't feel like the kind of community that we needed existed. So it felt like it was almost out of necessity.
Right.
You from Compton, I'm from Compton. Being in Fontana is not that far from Compton in terms of mileage, but in terms of the logistics of having a life and being on the hamster wheel,
Right.
you can. We started to feel isolated, like we don't, like our people
Living
are
in
far.
Fontana and having access to other people.
Well, yeah, we
Your
felt
people.
like it was a like necessity. Like we needed. There wasn't like a ready-made community for us to just join and be a part of in Fontana. So
Right.
it was almost like we needed to create it.
You literally had to create your community.
Right, and we did that to a large extent around education because that felt necessary too. One of the reasons we moved to North Fontana where we did is because it was that house was in what was considered a really good school district. And we learned the hard way, like a lot of black families, is just because you get yourself and your kids into a good school district don't mean they're gonna have a good experience. Right. And so we started to see some of the holes in that system. And we started to see that this was just something that needs to happen. Like, we can't be all on our little islands struggling and having the same struggles and not communicating with each other. So I think it's the combination of kind of being far enough from my people in and around Compton, and then being in this space where our expectations are not being met, where we felt like because the community didn't exist for us, we needed to try to create it.
So what was the first thing that you did to actually start this community? Like, what's the first act?
Man, I remember we had this was wild. This is like one of these examples of pulling the trigger, like taking advantage of the energy and the vision and doing something about it. I can't remember what the meeting was, but there was a district-wide meeting that involved parents. And it was about black stuff. I don't remember what it was about, or it was about, minority stuff or whatever. And I'm like, I'm in an auditorium and it's full of black people. So I just started getting up and talking to people. And intentionally, there's that term again. Intentionally, when I have a conversation with somebody who I felt shared our experience,
Shared values.
and our values, I exchanged information with those people. And so I left that auditorium that night with maybe, I don't know, between 10 and 15 numbers
And was there
of black parents
were there black people there that you had conversations with
that I did not know prior.
No, but I was gonna that you did not know prior, but you talked to and you did not exchange information with.
Yes. Because the vibe wasn't right, the energy wasn't right.
Okay.
Maybe I didn't think, we shared values in the way that I was
So
comfortable
there's a shared vibe, there's a shared energy.
Uh-huh.
You have the conversation, there's an exchange. Then what happens next?
I pitched this vision to Tam, like, we need to meet. Like, what does that look like? I don't know. Maybe it's going to be in our house. Maybe it'll be at a park or something like that. And I think we decided that we were going to do it at a park. And
That's very Compton of us.
very
Compton of you guys to meet in the park.
Right.
Everything happened in the park in Compton growing up.
Right.
Think about
every
it.
neighborhood had a park.
Everybody
had
had a park. Yeah.
Right.
That's
So,
interesting.
I think that kind of customary with my style, my approach. I didn't send out a bunch of text messages, at least not up front. Like, I called everybody and said, hey, remember me? We spoke at the thing. I'm thinking of, check the temperature, possible availability. And then I kind of, got a general idea of who could do what, when, and where. Then I send out the text for coordination, and we ended up at a park. First time we met was at a park.
Did you get a sense that someone, when you were doing this, said, this dude is weird?
I don't know. I wasn't even thinking
did
about that.
Well,
at
okay.
all. But I imagine that somebody was, because, people try to sell us stuff all the time.
Right.
People got hidden agendas and
Right.
whatever. You know what I mean? I imagine that somebody may have thought that, but I surely wasn't thinking about that.
Okay. So you have this meeting, and people come out.
And up front, I don't remember all the particulars.
Yeah.
Like, I don't know these questions, right?
Right.
You get asking them right now. I don't remember exactly. I know we probably did like a, introduction, warm up. This is who I am. This is the school my kids go to, whatever. I don't remember. Maybe I had a plan. Maybe I had an agenda, but it wasn't formal. Like I said, okay, this is the agenda. But you know how I do. I prepare for stuff.
Right.
So I probably had an agenda, and at least a couple of the things that I wanted to do was maybe get to the heart of some of the core issues that we could all work on together,
Right.
and then figure out when and where we were going to meet the next time.
Was there an existing model?
Or to see if people thought that we should meet again.
Right.
Maybe. I don't know.
Was there an existing model that, like, I had the tutorialist to look at? I could look at the tutorialist and look at all of what he did in 13, 14, 15.
Those dinners.
And I can kind of tweak. As not that I was biting his shit, but as a form of inspiration.
Yeah, right. It was a template.
It was a template. Did you have a template that you can use? Or did you seek out a template? Because I'm sure you're not the first Negro to want to gather parents together in a community that you're clearly in numbers the minority, or was this just something very internal?
I don't know.
So what was your check? Like, how did you check to make sure that this was like, it was cool?
I don't know if there was a template, at least not for us, which is why I felt like I said, to answer the first question, like the reason that we moved in this direction, is because we felt like it didn't exist. And we needed it to exist. Like we needed to not feel alone. in that space. And two, look, you know, my father was a longshoreman, a foreman. When he retired, he was running rail operations on the waterfront.
Mm-hmm.
But first and foremost, he's a labor dude, an ILWU labor organizer. And so this idea of collective bargaining is something that is important to me. Even though I'm an entrepreneur and I'm a business person, I bring that sentiment to my entrepreneurship. So for me, I think instinctively felt like we can't affect
You sound like
change.
Terrence Howard just said. He said, and distinctively.
You say I look like dude, huh?
No, you look like the other dude, the James Bond dude. What's his name? E. The James. What's the actor? God damn.
Sir, you don't
Jeffrey
know.
Wright. You look like Jeffrey Wright,
Oh,
but just
mercy.
then you sound like Terrence Howard, man.
Hustle and
Flow,
flow,
yeah. I didn't mean to interrupt, but
man.
go ahead. Man.
Sound like hustle and
Flow,
flow,
man.
man.
Yeah, man. Yeah, man. But you get this group of parents together, man.
Instinctively, man.
Right.
I think that, like that African proverb, I think it's West African proverb, says you want to go fast,
Whew.
go alone. You want to go far, go together.
Yeah.
There's something inside of me that says, at some point, I'm gonna have to click up. If it's a big thing that we're going after, at some point we got to click up. And it didn't feel like that was like, you know, you have black churches, and you know, I'm not a religious dude, so that kind of infrastructure is there.
Mm-hmm.
And then beyond that, it didn't feel like there was much. And I ain't hating either.
All right.
But it just didn't feel like it existed. And I don't know if there was a template, but maybe there was a methodology that I had, you know, borrowed from kind of growing up in a household where kind of labor stuff was there always in the ether. And then, you know, when I met my wife, we were a part of a church together, and I was a campus minister and all that kind of stuff. And so that kind of instinct to organize, and you know, that was there.
What about this? You guys have the meeting, the group meeting. You meet people that you're vibing with. You collect numbers. You call. You said, let's link up. Let's click up. You guys meet. And the express goal, did you have a goal?
Not at the time,
At
surely,
the time.
but
What ended up being some of the
part
goals?
of my agenda and the agenda of the core group, because we would kind of expand and contract, but there was always a core group that was kind of moving it. We wanted to get to shared objectives, and the difference between, like, you know, maybe a general goal and an objective is actionable. An objective has a time frame. It's got like a due date.
You're right.
It's got people that's accountable for certain aspects. You know what I mean? We wanted to get to some objectives, and I think we came to the conclusion that these are our three, maybe it's three, I don't know, 3 to 5 objectives for the year.
So what was an example of one of the objectives?
I can't remember. It was so long ago. But one of the things that we wanted to do was, have mercy. We wanted to increase the kind of tangible, objectively verifiable performance of black kids in that school district, because even though the school district did really well, when you kind of broke up the data and you kind of
Parsed it out.
bring black kids out, there were black kids who did really well, but the black kids as a group were like second-class citizens within the context of that school district. And so either something is going on with us, like we're inferior, that's the white supremacist notion. We can't cut it because something is wrong with us or something is wrong with this system. So we conclude something is wrong with the system. And one of our objectives is to get our kids at least up to the point where they're doing as well as other groups in the school. And then we moved from kind of objectives to, kind of strategic intent to tactical shit. And one of the things that we would do is we would coordinate with each other and show up at school board meetings and designate in advance one of us to speak. They didn't know we were organized.
So you guys were organized.
But they didn't know we were organized. They didn't know that we met before the meeting.
And do you think the response was different?
Damn straight. Because when one of us spoke, everybody else was on the same accord. Somebody else can follow up. Somebody else can follow up. Somebody else can hit some questions to draw that thing out. And then I think without knowing that we are organized, at some point the school district starts to pay attention, like there's these same people again.
These Negroes are organized.
Or these Negroes got issues and they mean business.
Right. So I think what I love the fact that we have two different ways of being intentional.
This is kind of the magic of our friendship too.
Yeah.
As we come at stuff
totally differently. Yeah, but they still on
code.
But
we work really well together.
We work really well
think
together.
A lot of that is because I trust you.
Yeah.
I trust your intentions.
Yeah.
Back to that term again.
He trusts my intentions, Elijah. He don't trust my skill set. If the intention, he can work on my skill set. It's fine. I'm learning how to trust my skill sets as well.
I trust your skill set too. You have a hell of a toolbox.
Thank you.
Hey,
I appreciate it. You do as well.
But we do come at things differently. So, for instance, for me, you are so much more. It's crazy because I'm an artist too.
Right.
But it seems like you are so much more artistic in a way. I almost have a switch.
Right.
Where when I'm not doing art, I'm straight business.
But
you come at business like
artistically.
Like art.
But funny enough, I think through our interactions, through the podcast, through our salad company, through whatever the hell to our men's group, the influence that you have, because now I'm more on the business side, like I handle the business of the business.
And I've loosened the fuck up.
And you've loosened the fuck up. you've taken the hunch out your back. That's interesting, but that happens after kind of doing this dance with somebody for such a long period of time.
We gotta land the ship. I think this is going a little bit longer than we expected.
Yeah. But what I was gonna say is that I think we both have two different experiences and different ways that we express holding space, and I think the expression shows when you're because the work that you have done with the village. Do you see some of those things, whether skill sets or motivations or how you goal set? Those are skill sets that kind of you can work with in your real estate business and in your creative stuff that you do.
I think so. I think that was one of those efforts. That was one of those kind of pushes where I was able to really get hold of a philosophy that was new for me at the time.
Right.
Where I don't have to have everything that I'm looking for.
Right.
So when the school district took note of us, they tried to absorb us, and we allowed them to an extent.
We call that co-op.
Yeah, right. Hopefully without being co-opted too much. But they formed a task force to address some of
your needs,
our objectives that we pulled out of a report. We pulled some of those objectives, I forgot to mention that, out of a report that had been done on the whole county in terms of public education. And they formed this task force that was doing good work. The task force became an advisory council. My wife was the first chair of that council, and it still exists to this day.
The advisory council does?
Yeah, it does. It's a part of the school district.
So it's been institutionalized.
And the relationships, not all of the relationships, but
yeah.
Some of the relationships that were formed during those early phases are still beautiful, and they bear fruit now.
It's funny when I think about that group. I didn't mean to cut you off. Go ahead. They bear fruit now.
I was doing a long way to answer the question.
No,
Anyway.
I was thinking the dynamics of some of those relationships have changed.
No doubt.
It's just interesting how
No doubt.
how just life just
That's kind of the nature.
Yeah.
You closer to people that you weren't that close to.
Yeah.
Then, and now you're not as close with people as you were close to then.
Right.
Maybe kind of being in the shit with folk.
Yeah.
It gives you good reason to be close, and then, you kind of not in the shit as much, and maybe you drift away for whatever reason.
I thought about like same for like the men's group. Like there's
There's been some churn.
There's been some churn. There's some people that have been out of it that came back in it. There's some people that I didn't think to invite that I should have been inviting all this time.
Some new cats
are
just beautiful in the way they shine. Some cats who were strong up front, but they ain't around no more.
They're not around no more, and it's okay.
It's okay. I think it's okay. Yeah. Ultimately, it's okay. And we don't know what the future holds.
Yeah.
We have these chapters, and they got strong characters. Sometimes those characters stick around, sometimes they don't. But, to answer the question, I think that this idea of not having to have everything to be okay is important. And I take that into my business dealings. I'm negotiating on behalf of people. I'm helping people to negotiate transactions. We're trying to get to an agreement that is a win-win. And ultimately, if that's the best way to go for me, and that means that we don't have to have everything.
No.
Okay, but there are some non-negotiables. Let's try to wrap our minds and our hearts around that. But then not going to there expecting to be running over people and then having people lose in order for us to win. And that helped me too, because there were people in the district who really wanted to do what we wanted them to do, but they had restraints. They had the levers of power that they had to consider. They needed good reason to move, and we had to give it to them, And so kind of being able to say, like, all these people over here aren't my enemies, and they don't have to be for us to get over or make progress. And that's ultimately what we want to do. We want to make progress.
In the spirit of progress, we're going to wrap this up.
Tighten that thing up.
But what we're going to do for you guys, we're going to give you guys 5 tips on what you can do to build community in your neighborhood. Once again, thank you for joining me and Billy on this ride for Kaleidoscope.
We'll be back in a hot one.
Peace.
Peace.